Hello, this is Stefan Bagney. This post focuses on necessity challenges. Necessity challenges can either stop the taking of a property or seek to limit the rights being acquired by the agency. If the agency is a public agency, like the Michigan Department of Transportation, a municipality, or Road or Drain Commission, then the standard under the Uniform Condemnation Procedures Act is fraud, error of law, or abuse of discretion. If it's a private agency, the standard depends upon whether that agency obtained approval from either a state or a federal regulatory agency. Necessity challenges are generally handled on an hourly basis. If the property owner prevails, it's entitled to receive reimbursement of its reasonable attorney fees. In this post, I'm going to first take you to Troy, the location of a necessity challenge that was successful and the subject of a published Michigan Court of Appeals opinion.
In Troy versus Barnard, the city wanted to build a sidewalk here on Square Lake Road between Montclair and Donaldson. Normally, a sidewalk is the type of project that justifies the use of eminent domain. But the property owners challenged the city's taking, asserting that it was taking too much property. The Court of Appeals agreed. I'm going to read from the opinion. In reviewing whether a taking is necessary, the consideration is not the advantage to the public, but whether the project needs the property involved. Clearly, neither 17 feet nor 27 feet are necessary for the construction of a 5-foot wide sidewalk. We believe the words public necessity and necessity, as used in the Uniform Condemnation Procedures Act, mean a necessity now existing or which will exist in the near future, not an indefinite, remote, or speculative future necessity. Plaintiff's acquisition of excess property, premised on the hope that it might widen Square Lake Road sometime within the next 30 years, does not meet the test of necessity. Further, the fact that plaintiff can utilize this extra land in the meantime for other purposes, such as utility placement and snow storage, does not help to justify the condemnation. Barnard was decided in 1990, 34 years ago, and as you can see, Square Lake Road is still 2 lanes wide. This demonstrates why government agencies are not allowed to take property for a speculative future use that might never happen. Now let's go to Detroit, and we'll see 2 locations where I used the concepts in Barnard to fight successful necessity challenges. In the Troy case, we looked at a situation where the project was allowed to proceed, but the city was not allowed to take all the land that it sought because it wasn't necessary. Here in front of the Wayne State University Welcome Center, this is a different type of a necessity challenge because this university was counting on an appropriation from the state legislature in order to fund the construction of this building. However, they filed a lawsuit before that appropriation was passed. Therefore, their ability to proceed with the project at the time that they initially filed the lawsuit was speculative. The Wayne County Circuit Court agreed and dismissed the lawsuit, requiring the university to pay all of the attorney fees incurred by the property owner. After the legislation was passed, they were allowed to eventually initiate a new condemnation to take the project. We're going to go downtown another mile or 2 towards Comerica Park, and we'll talk about a necessity challenge that prevented the acquisition of that property completely. Behind me is the Tin Roof Bar. Over here is Comerica Park. The Detroit-Wayne County Stadium Authority used eminent domain to acquire all the land that became Comerica Park and Ford Field. They had quite detailed schematics about how they were going to use the land, and it included everything they were going to condemn except the Tin Roof Bar property. We filed a necessity challenge and ended up deposing the president of the Tigers and representatives of both Wayne County and the city of Detroit. We asked them a simple question: what are you going to do with this property? How are you going to incorporate it into your stadia project? None of them had any specific answers. As a result, our necessity challenge was successful, and we were able to completely stop the acquisition of this property. This was the only property that we challenged on. The rest of the stadia project could go through because they knew how they were going to use that project. It was pure speculation how they were going to use this property, and for that reason, necessity was denied and the case dismissed.
Pursuing necessity challenges is difficult because they involve hourly charges. I've talked more clients out of pursuing them than challenges that I've actually filed. It's important to have a candid evaluation of the likelihood of success and how much success actually benefits the property owner, and weigh that against the risk of the uncertainty of litigation and the certainty of incurring attorney fees pursuing.